Over 60? Top 3 vegetables. You must eat to detox and restore. Kidney function fast. If you're over 60, let me ask you something. Have you started waking up more often at night just to use the bathroom, or feeling tired even after what should have been a full night of sleep? Maybe your ankles look a little more swollen than they used to. Not enough to worry you, just enough to ignore. And that's exactly why it matters. Because changes like these don't come all at once. They show up quietly little by little until they start to feel normal. So you keep your routine, eat the same way, and assume everything is fine. But in the background, something is slowly building. And most people never notice it until it's already been there for a while. What makes this even harder is this. Many people think they're doing the right things. Cutting back here, being more careful there, trying to eat healthier without really knowing what their body actually needs. So the real question isn't just what to avoid, it's what might be missing without you realizing it. In this video, we're going to look at 3 vegetables most people overlook, not because they're rare, but because almost no one understands what they actually do, until it's explained the right way. And the first one might already be in your kitchen, just not helping you the way you think. Number 1, cassava. Most people don't expect this one, because when it comes to kidney health, you usually hear the same advice. Cut salt. Cut red meat. Avoid processed foods. And yes, that matters. But there's something else happening that almost no one talks about. As you get older, your body doesn't just change how it filters waste. It also changes how it produces it. And in some cases, the problem isn't that you're eating too much of the wrong thing, it's that your body isn't getting enough of the right kind of fuel. So it adapts. When your body doesn't get steady energy from clean carbohydrates, it starts pulling from another source, your own muscle. That process may sound harmless, but it creates more internal waste than most people realize. Substances your kidneys now have to filter out every single day. And after 60, that extra load matters. This is where cassava comes in a very practical way. Cassava is naturally rich in carbohydrates, but very low in sodium and protein. That combination is important. It gives your body the energy it needs without adding extra strain. When your body has enough fuel, it doesn't have to break down muscle as much, and when that breakdown slows, less waste is produced in the first place. That means your kidneys are not constantly playing catch-up. There's another benefit most people overlook. Cassava contains resistant starch. This type of starch behaves more like fiber. It feeds beneficial bacteria in your gut, helping support a more balanced internal environment. And when your gut is more stable, inflammation tends to stay lower. Over time, that matters for your kidneys more than people think. But how you prepare cassava makes all the difference. It should always be peeled and fully cooked, never raw. Boiling is one of the simplest and safest methods. Cut it into pieces, cook until soft, then drain. What you want to avoid is turning it into something heavy. Deep frying, salty sauces. That quickly cancels out the benefit. A better approach is simple. Use cassava in place of part of your usual starch. Swap it with rice or potatoes a few times a week. Pair it with vegetables and a moderate portion of protein like fish. You're not removing protein completely. You're balancing it. Because in the end, cassava is not about detoxing your kidneys overnight. It works in a quieter way, by reducing how much waste your body creates before your kidneys even have to deal with it. Number 2, bean sprouts. This is one of those foods most people don't think twice about. It shows up on the side of a plate, added for texture, maybe a little freshness. But rarely something you see is important, and that's exactly why it gets missed. Because after 60, the challenge isn't always about big, obvious problems. It's about small things that build quietly over time, the kind you don't feel right away, but your body still has to deal with every day. One of those is internal stress at the cellular level. You won't see it. You won't feel it directly. But over the years, your body becomes less efficient at handling it. And when that happens, the systems that rely on balance, including your kidneys, start to feel the pressure. This is where something as simple as bean sprouts begins to matter. They don't overload your system. They're light, naturally low in sodium, and because they're harvested early, they don't carry the same weight as fully grown beans. That alone makes them easier for your body to process, but that's just part of the picture. Bean sprouts also provide vitamin C and natural antioxidants. Not in extreme amounts, but enough to support your body in managing that low-level stress more consistently. And consistency is what matters here, because after 60, it's not about doing something once that makes a big difference. It's about what your body can rely on day after day without creating more strain. There's another piece to this that often gets overlooked. Hydration doesn't feel as obvious as it used to. You don't always feel thirsty the same way. You don't always notice when your body is slightly low on fluids, but your kidneys do. Even mild dehydration makes it harder for your body to move waste efficiently. It forces your kidneys to work a little harder, a little longer, just to do the same job. And over time, that adds up. Bean sprouts are mostly water. They don't replace drinking fluids, but they support your overall hydration in a way that's easy and consistent. You're not forcing anything. You're simply giving your body a little more of what it already needs. And sometimes that's enough to shift the balance. But here's where people often lose the benefit. They take something naturally light and turn it into something heavy. Too much sauce, too much sodium, or cooking it down until there's nothing left but softness. At that point, you're no longer helping your body. You're adding back the same pressure you were trying to reduce. A better approach stays simple. Rinse them well. Cook them lightly, just enough to soften while keeping their natural texture. Keep the seasoning minimal so your body can actually use what they offer. You can add them to soups, mix them with other vegetables, or pair them with a balanced meal that doesn't overload your system. Because in the end, bean sprouts are not about doing something dramatic. They work in a quieter way. By helping your body stay balanced, so your kidneys don't have to keep compensating for what's missing. Number 3, string beans. This is probably one of the most familiar vegetables on your plate. You've seen it for years. Maybe you've eaten it without ever thinking much about it. It doesn't stand out. It doesn't feel special, and that's exactly why it's easy to miss what it's actually doing. Because after 60, the real challenge for your kidneys isn't just about clearing toxins. It's about dealing with the quiet daily pressure that builds from things your body has been handling for decades. And a big part of that pressure doesn't come from one single source. It comes from patterns, the way your blood pressure behaves over time, the way your blood sugar rises and falls after meals, the small fluctuations that don't feel dangerous, but don't stay harmless either. You don't notice them day to day. But your body does, and your kidneys, more than most organs, feel that pressure over time. This is where something as simple as string beans starts to matter more than it seems. They don't work in a dramatic way. You're not going to eat them once and feel a sudden difference, but they support something your body depends on. Stability. When you include foods like this regularly, you're giving your body something steady to work with. String beans are naturally low in sodium, which helps you avoid adding extra strain without even realizing it. Over time, that matters more than people expect, especially when blood pressure has been slightly elevated for years. But there's another side to this that's easier to overlook. Think about what happens after you eat. Blood sugar rises, then falls. That's normal. But when those spikes become sharper, more frequent, and harder to control, they start to affect the very system your kidneys rely on, not overnight, not all at once, but gradually. The fiber in string beans helps slow that process down. It doesn't block it. It doesn't force it. It simply makes the rise more controlled, more even, easier for your body to handle. And over time, that kind of control becomes protection. There's also the question of inflammation. Not the kind you feel, but the kind that quietly lingers in the background. The kind that builds from years of imbalance and slowly affects how well your body functions. Foods that are simple, whole, and consistent tend to support your body in keeping that under control. And string beans fall into that category. But like everything else we've talked about, how you prepare them makes a difference. If they come out of a can packed with salt or cooked with heavy sauces and fats, they stop being supportive and start adding back the same pressure you're trying to reduce. That's where many people unknowingly cancel out the benefit. A simpler approach works better. Fresh or frozen, lightly cooked, enough to soften, but not so much that they lose their structure. Add flavor with garlic, herbs, or a little olive oil, not by covering them in salt. Pair them with a balanced plate. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated, because in the end, string beans are not about doing something impressive. They work because they help key. So here's what all of this comes down to. After 60, your kidneys don't suddenly fail. They don't just stop working. What actually happens is much quieter than that. They deal with small amounts of pressure over and over again every single day. And over time, that adds up. That's why this isn't about finding one perfect food. It's about making small, consistent choices that reduce that pressure instead of adding to it. Foods like cassava, bean sprouts, and string beans don't work because they're extreme. They work because they support your body in simple, steady ways, giving your kidneys less to struggle with day after day. And that's where real change happens. Not overnight, but over time. So instead of trying to change everything at once, start small. Add one of these into your meals this week. Notice how your body responds. Then build from there. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. And if this helped you see things a little more clearly, take a moment to like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need this too. Sometimes the smallest shifts are the ones that protect your health the longest.